Okay, hi everybody. Today we are going to be talking about converting between different forms of linear equations. First, a very brief word on why this is important. We have been doing some word problems that have required us to create equations in point-slope form, in slope-intercept form, and coming up soon we're going to be talking about doing this in standard form. And the point is, each one of these forms of an equation exists because they give us some specific information that is helpful to us. Uh, the thing is, though, sometimes we don't only want that specific information, but we want the rest of it as well. And so we need to be able to convert any form of an equation into any other form. And that's entirely what this lesson is about. It is going to be very procedural. I'm just going to show you how to do 6 different conversions, and then there'll be time for you to practice on your own. Let's go right into the first one. If you notice on your notes handout, there might be a table on this slide that does not appear here. You can ignore it. I've decided to do it a different way. All right, so for number 1, we want to convert this y minus 3 equals 4 times x plus 2 into slope-intercept form. Well, right now this is in point-slope form, which is an acceptable form, but remember how I told you that slope-intercept form is usually the best one. It gives us the most information. It's the easiest to use. So we want to transfer this into slope-intercept form. First thing I'm going to, well, really the way I do this is just by what I like to call massaging the equation. I just want to move stuff around until I get this guy here into this form right here. Okay? And first thing I'm going to do is distribute. 4 times x, 4 times 2, I get y minus 3 is equal to 4x plus 8. Next thing I'm going to do, I want to get y by itself because notice over here y is by itself. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I get y is equal to 4x plus 11. I'm done. That's all there is to it. I distribute, I get y, I isolate y, and normally this will give me y equals mx plus b form right away. This is going to be your turn. Convert y plus 1 equals 1/2 times x plus 9 into slope-intercept form, very similar to what I just did. And I've even written the answer down for you, but you have to show your work. And I am going to move on. Convert 2x minus 3y equals 7 into slope-intercept form. Once again, I need to massage this around in order to get this ugly looking thing here into this very pretty looking, in fact I'll use purple because that's a pretty color, this very pretty looking form right here. Okay? And until I have it looking like y equals mx plus b, I am not done. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to try to get y by itself. I don't have y by itself. In fact, I have a lot of stuff around y. So what I need to do, first I need to find my eraser. Never mind, everything went away. Cool. I'm just going to rewrite y equals mx plus b so that I know what I'm looking for. Always a good idea to write down the form you're looking for so you know if you've gotten there or not. First thing I want to do is get rid of this 2x by subtracting 2x from both sides of my equation. 2x minus 2x adds to 0, so I'm just going to cross it out. And I am left with, first of all, I'm going to make the mistake that a lot of students make, and then I want to see if you can catch it. What a lot of students will write at this point is 3y is equal to negative 2x plus 7, or something like that. Okay? Notice I want my x term before my constant term, like it is in the equation. And so I wrote it like this. Now, have you seen the problem that I made here, or the error that I made here? Well, look at this right over here. This was a 2x minus 3y. The 2x went away, but nothing told the minus to go away, because what I really have is 0 subtract 3y now. 0 subtract 3y is negative 3y, and that's what I should have. Negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 7. Now that I have that, I am simply going to divide by -3 to get y by itself. Only problem is, what do I divide the other side by? What do I divide the other side? What on the other side do I divide by -3? And the answer is I divide everything, every single term, by -3. Because what I do to one side, I have to do to everything in the other side. So once I've divided by -3 on the left, I'm done. I have y equals. But on the right over here, I have -2 divided by -3. A negative divided by a negative gives me a positive, so I'm just going to write 2/3 x. And then I have a +7 divided by a -3. That is just going to turn into -7/3. Nothing reduces, so I am done. Okay? Good enough? Excellent. I'm going to go on to the next one. Here's one for you to try. I've put an answer there. You have to show all the work. If you have trouble, you can pause the video. You can rewatch what I have done for each one of the previous questions. Number 3, convert y equals 2/3 x minus 2 into point slope form. First thing I'm going to do is write what I want it to look like. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, you want to know what the easiest thing for me to do is right here? I am going to find my slope and a point, and I'm just going to plug it into that equation. I'm not going to massage the equation I have around. That could take a little while. I am just going to try to come up with the information that is required for point slope form and just fit it in like that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, well, what do you know? I already know my slope because this is y equals mx plus b, and so my slope must be 2/3. Okay, so then what I can do, I have y minus y1 equals 2/3 times x minus x1. And now all I need in order to complete this is I need to know a y1 and an x1. Where do I get that from? Well, really, really easy. I am going to take this equation here, and I'm going to plug in anything at all for x in order to get a point. What do you mean by that, Mr. Duncan? Well, let me show you. Let's say I want x to equal 1. You know what? Even easier. I apologize. There's something even easier. A lot of times when I get to pick a point at random like this, I will pick 1. But for this one, x equals 0 is even going to be easier. Let's see why I am doing that. Well, at the point that x equals 0, y is equal to 2/3 times 0 minus 2. So y equals 0 minus 2, so y equals -2. I bet a bunch of you right now are wondering, why in the world did he just do that? Well, look what I have here. I have x equals 0. I have y equals -2. So I know one point on this line is the point 0, comma, -2. Once I have any point, and I can pick any value for x to come up with any point that I want, but once I have a single point and I have my slope, I have all the information I need for point slope form. I'm going to now go over here. Let me grab the magic pen for a second to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to go over right here where I already started my work. Cool, huh? And I am going to now plug in y1 and x1. What do you know? Here's, let me just grab a different color. Here's y1, here's x1. I'm ready to fill this in. Y minus, what's y1? -2, so y minus -2 equals 2/3 times x minus 0. I just plugged in my x and y coordinate, and now all I need to do is make this just look just a tiny bit prettier. So I'm going to do y, subtract a negative is the same thing as a positive. So y plus 2 equals 2/3. And this x minus 0, not really necessary. It's just 2/3 x. The minus 0 doesn't do anything for me. This is in point slope form. If you left it as x, in parentheses, x minus 0, I would not take off points for that. But x minus 0 is just x. So I I call this that I have just boxed done. Okay? The next one is for you to do. Answer's written, but you have to show your work. And then we go on to number 4, standard form into point slope form. Okay? All I need is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Again, I'm going to try to do the same thing. Find my slope and then find a point. This is the hardest problem to do. Number 4 is the hardest one of all 6. Okay? Here's why. Because the first thing I'm going to do is turn this into slope intercept form so that I know my slope. It's really quite a challenge here, but try to follow me. First thing I do, minus 9x on both sides. I get negative 6y, notice the negative sign again, equals negative 9x minus 2. I am then going to divide both sides by negative 6. And here's what I get. Y is equal to negative 9 divided by negative 6 is not positive, and they have a common factor of 3, which I'm going to divide out. So positive 3x over 2, and then negative 2 divided by negative 6 is going to be plus 1/3. So I am left with, I can just erase, I can erase that positive right there. I'm left with y equals 3 halves x plus 1/3. Well, now I can do exactly what I just did in the previous step, because I know that my slope is 3 over 2. And now to find a point so that I can use point slope form, I am going to do this. I'm going to pick x to be 0, and then I'm going to have y equals 3 halves times 0 plus 1/3. So y equals 1/3. Okay, so I have a point. My point is 0, comma 1/3. I have a slope. My slope was 3 over 2, and I have enough to put this into point slope form like was asked. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus 1/3, that's it here, equals m, which is my slope, 3 over 2, times x minus my x-coordinate, which is 0. That is good enough to be done. Okay? I want to point out one thing right now. One other thing. You could, like I did in the previous one, you could cross out this 0 and just make it 3 halves x. That's not necessary there. But I do want to point out one thing. You see how, let me grab a color that I haven't used yet. You see how over here I picked x equals 0? You could pick any point you want. But for every different point you pick, you will get a slightly different answer here. So your point slope form might not look exactly like my point slope form, but that's okay as long as they actually mean the same thing. Excellent. Here's one for you to try, and then we'll go on to something a little bit easier. Number 5, convert y equals 5/4 x minus 8 into standard form. We're back to my favorite, massaging equations around. I just want this to look like my standard form equation, which is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are all integers. That's standard form. And how do I do that? Well, I just start moving stuff around. I know I need x and y on the same side, so the first thing I'm going to do is move x to where it's on the same side as y. Minus 5/4 x on both sides. That's going to cross out because they add to 0. I am left with negative 5/4 x plus y equals negative 8. And this kind of looks like the form I need, right? Except it's not, because a, b, and c, that's this guy that's not actually here, it's actually a 1, and this guy here all have to be integers. Well, the 1 and the negative 8 are integers, but negative 5/4 is not. So how do I fix this? Well, Here's a little trick that we probably haven't talked about this year. Anytime I want to get rid of fractions, just multiply every single thing by the least common denominator. Or sorry, the greatest common denominator. In this case, it's just 4. So I multiply every single term by 4. Look what happens. 4 and 4 will reduce to 1. So I'm left with negative 5x plus 4y equals negative 32. Notice what I had before, not correct because it had a fraction in it. What I have right here, this is correct because there are no fractions. They are all integers. I'm going to allow you to try that one on your own, and I'm going to go to the next one. It is the final one. Convert this in point slope form into standard form. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is distribute so that then I can start moving stuff around. I get y plus 2 is equal to 2/9 x minus 18 times 2 divided by 9. So what I have here is really 2/9 times 18. The 18 and the 9 have a common factor. That turns into 1. This turns into 2. Let me just do that in a different color real quick. Ooh. 2/9 times 18. Oh, yeah. And the different color, 9 becomes a 1, 18 becomes a 2. And I have y plus 2 is equal to 2/9 x minus 2 times 2, which is 4. Are we done yet? Absolutely not. Because we need to get this, the form I'm looking for again is ax plus by equals c. So I need x and y on the same side, and I need all my numbers on the other side. So first thing I'm going to do is take away this 2, because I need all my numbers on the right, and I have y equals 2/9 x minus 6. Next thing I'm going to do, get rid of this x so that it goes to the other side. 2/9 x minus 2/9 x. The 2/9 and minus 2/9 x both add to 0, so I have negative 2/9 x plus y equals negative 6. Is this standard form? Well, it sort of looks like it, except that I do have this fraction right here. I told you to get rid of a fraction, you can just multiply everything by the denominator. So times 9 times 9 times 9. And our answer is 9 and 9 reduced to 1. Negative 2x plus 9y equals negative 36. I am done. There is one for you to try. I've written the answer, but you have to show your work. And then, due to popular demand, a bonus slide. Write the linear equation that is represented by the table below. I just wanted to take a second to show you this. Sometimes we can be given data in a table and asked to write the linear equation. Notice it doesn't tell us what form to use, so I'm going to immediately pick my easiest one, y equals mx plus b. Okay? How do I find m? How do I find b? Once I have those things, I am done with my answer. Okay? Well, first, m is equal to just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so I'm just going to pick any 2 points. I see a point with a 0 in it. I'm definitely taking that one. I see a point that has no negative numbers. I'm taking that one. So here's going to be x2, x1. Let me write these in a different color so they show up. x2, x1. Here's y2 and y1. I'm just going to plug them in. I get 0 minus 2 over 7 minus 4, which is equal to negative 2 over 3. That's my slope. Now all I need is a y-intercept. Well, I've shown you how to do that. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus b. To find my b, I'm just going to very temporarily replace x and y with any point. And I'm going to try to pick the easiest point. The easiest point is going to be the one with the 0 in it. Usually 0 and 1 are very easy to work with. So I'm going to replace y with my 0, and that's going to be equal to negative 2/3 times whatever x is, which is now 7 temporarily, plus b, and we're going to solve for b. Negative 2/3 times 7 is negative 14 over 3, plus b is equal to 0. Well, I need to figure out what b is, so I need to get b by itself. So I'm going to add 14/3 here. I'm going to add 14/3 here. Pretty obvious that b equals 14/3. While I'm not quite done, I'm basically done, because I have my slope here, and I have my y-intercept here. So y equals mx plus b. So y equals negative 2/3 times x plus 14 over 3. Done. That is all. And for extra credit, not mandatory notice, you may answer this question right here. You're going to have to pause the video and write it down because it's not on your slide, and I am ending my video now.